Hello, this is I Go Travel with Don Barnett. We're going to tour some of the richest and largest coal mines in the world. I first became aware of this massive coal operation when I saw the long lines of railway coal cars along the Crow's Nest Highway. Long train lines of 150 cars haul the coal to the Vancouver seaport 4 and 5 times a day. Coal accounts for over half the province's mineral production, and other minerals like gold, copper, and zinc are far down the list. All the coal trains are scheduled to run in an eastward direction with empty cars from Vancouver, and then in a westward direction with loaded cars from the Elk Valley. This avoids the trains having to get past one another from opposite directions. On the way to one of the mines, on the tour, we had to get around a big bulldozer getting hauled to the mine. Good roads are needed for heavy equipment. This is the only mine near the community of Sparwood that you can see from the highway. The other mines are deep in the mountains and at higher elevations, and that is where we are going. We rode in both school buses and commercial buses. In previous years, these buses transported workers to and from their homes in the Elk Valley and across the provincial border in Alberta. Our tour guides were people who worked in the mine. They were knowledgeable, responded in detail to questions, and were just great positive ambassadors of their workplace. Our tour bus was escorted with this guide vehicle who had radio communication with heavy machinery moving in the area. At times it seemed we were right in the midst of the work that was going on. Accidents do happen, but the accident record in these big open pit mines is very good. There have been occasional times when big trucks have backed over a small truck. Also, forward vision in the big trucks is not possible immediately in front of the vehicle. It is like not being able to see in front of your own vehicle if a dog or child were standing immediately in front of your front bumper. The no vision area in front of these big trucks could be 5 meters or more. The Elk Valley has 3 or 4 mines. Each is huge and has 3 or 4 or more large pits like this, where coal is extracted. You can see the horizontal terraces made by bulldozers as they carve down the mountainside, making a deep pit to extract the coal deposits as they work downward. Water is repelled by coal. Therefore, there is no gradual seeping as the mine is opened up. Blasting and digging often causes a sudden release of water that falls into the lake formed at the bottom of the pit. The terraces bulldozed down the mountainside as the pit is dug prevents mudslides and gives the water a chance to fall to the lake formed below and then gradually seep into the ground. Explosives made from ammonium nitrate and diesel fuel have sheared off the mountaintops, leaving a deep pit where a mountain once stood. We watched the work below. This pit was a pit in which there were no drivers in the big trucks. All truck movement was controlled by remote control and computer programming. If a boulder happened to fall off of a truck and rolled into the path of another truck, or another truck veered into the path of a truck, the trucks immediately stop. These large open pit surface mines are much safer than tunnel mines. There are 2 types of coal mining, the underground and the surface mines. The underground mines, or in some case underwater, like in Nova Scotia where the tunnels project out under the sea, those mines tended to be historical in nature, the early type of mines that were in the Elk Valley. But they're not finished yet. In the world, Over half the coal mines, 60%, are still tunnel mines. The other type of mine on the surface, there are strip mines and the open pit mine that we've seen in the Elk Valley here. The strip mines have these long cables of drag lines that strip the top of the land off. The problem with them is that they are high pollution operations, and land destruction is left turned upside down with holes and valleys that wildlife and cattle can hardly survive in. The open pit mines also have pollution issues that we'll talk a little later about, and they do literally tear down mountains. We watched this machine digging in the bottom of pit. Big machines are needed to remove the rock and dirt until a coal seam is hit. In many mines, the coal seams are only a meter or so thick, but in the Elk Valley, the coal seams can be 9 to 12 meters thick. It is indeed a rich area of coal mining. BC's coal is in high demand across the world. The metallurgical coal in the Elk Valley is in high demand because it is so essential in the manufacturing of steel. And the global greenhouse emission is relatively low at 7 to 9%. It does have some pollution. Selenium, that we'll talk about a little later, does seep into the water system. The other kind of coal is thermal coal, more common and more popular, and it's mainly used for generating power in the power plants. But the global emission is very high, 30%. And therefore, there has been, in recent years, an environmental movement to reduce and even eliminate the thermal power plants. But the metallurgical coal from the Elk Valley is still in high demand across the world. We are going to see the haul trucks in action. Here is the big loader that fills the trucks. And here comes the truck. It's making its turn up to where the coal is there. And the loader is ready, bucket in the air with a load of coal. Now the truck comes up, he'll make his turn, put the truck in reverse, back up, and listen to the horn, which is the signal to dump. Oh, look at the dust. Coal is a dusty product, so roads are often watered. Sometimes wind fences are built, and mine weather stations help determine the best low wind times for blasting. Most dust is created by blasting, and the coal dust will drift for up to 30 kilometers before settling. The coal trains are given environmentally friendly spray to keep the dust down as they go to Vancouver. Heavy loads are hard on tires, and we saw piles of old tires serving as embankments along the roads. Tires usually last 6 to 8 months, and the front tires wear out first. This 350-ton world's largest truck hauled coal and is on display along Highway 3 at Sparwood. Currently, new trucks in the mines have stronger tires and deeper boxes and actually haul bigger loads. Nevertheless, this Titan, as it's called, is one big truck. Its box can hold 2 city buses and 2 half-ton trucks. It is 7.5 meters high, has 10 tires, and a 16-cylinder engine that has the power of a locomotive. Just to give you an idea of the size, I put my hat there in the middle of that tire. just to show you the size. And there I put my hat to show you the size of the cylinders that lift the truck box. The cost of the radiator itself, and combined with the cost of the tires, was not economical. This truck was used as an experimental prototype truck for a while in the mines. But as I said, it has been replaced by smaller but more maneuverable and bigger load hauling trucks. I'll just scan the main mine work area. We'll be seeing on the right in the distance that light area on the mountainside. It's ready for grass and reseeding, something that the elk and bighorn sheep really like. I'll swing back the camera the other way just to show you the area from this angle. Some of the workers' cars. This is the main garage area. This looks like a truck that needed a radiator replacement. Machinery wears out, especially when the work is heavy. This is a settling pond area where the overburden, waste mud, and water gathers. Let's see where we're at in the mining process. We saw where they dug and scraped the overburden off with bulldozers and other big machines. We saw the trucks that haul it from the pit to the plant, which is on site at the mine. And there they wash and clean the coal before they put it on the train. This is a bulldozer moving coal around, waiting to get washed and cleaned at the plant. Wherever you see white steam rising, that is from water and steam applied to the coal to do the final cleaning. Once steamed and cleaned, the coal is elevated up a trolley and a pipe like this one here. Let's follow the coal from the steam cleaning operation here up the elevated pipe. And this elevation is quite high, as you can see. And it goes up to this cylinder container and drops down below to the waiting railway cars waiting to be loaded and head to Vancouver. These are reclaimed lands after the mining is over in an area. And this is the central parts depot for the mining operation. An operation this size needs what seems like 1 million machinery parts. And this huge building is packed literally to the rafters. Workers access the parts by elevator, and these days all parts are recorded by computer. No big business has no concerns, and there are 4 associated with coal mining. They are the economic giveaway, the changing landscape, the concern for wildlife, and pollution. Let's look at the first one, the economic giveaway that is so characteristic of Canada. Canada has always been a supplier of raw materials rather than a manufacturer based on those raw materials. For years, the Elk Valley coal supplied the basis for the rise of the industrialization of the state of Washington and the whole northwestern United States. We continue to give timber away by the truckload for cheap prices. And one time we tried to manufacture toothpicks and chopsticks for the Chinese, but that didn't last too long. It was easier to just load the logs onto the big ships and let the Chinese do the manufacturing. Because Canadians would rather sell than make, other countries have eyes on the rich coal of the Elk Valley. India, China, Switzerland, Japan, they're all interested in buying the coal company. Can we hold out? Will we change and start to do some manufacturing, build some manufacturing requirements into the sale of our raw materials. It is so un-Canadian so far, but maybe even a leopard can change its spots. Where mountains once stood, there are now no peaks and deep holes remain. An environmentalist argument from Alberta has been, leave our eastern slopes alone. British Columbia can destroy the natural beauty of the Canadian Rockies. But in Alberta, we feel the destruction of the eastern slopes of the Rockies is not worth all the money foreign nations can offer us. Nevertheless, the mines are restoring the environment on a continual basis rather than leaving a giant mess to try and fix up at the end, which has occurred in other mines elsewhere and in previous years. With number 3, wildlife, the mines attempt to restore the environment as much as possible to its former condition, or at least close enough so the animals can readily adapt. The mines diligently monitor the no hunting rule on their leased lands, and the animals know it. Especially in hunting season, the wildlife hang out near the mine properties. There is almost always a price to pay for everything. So let's look at number 4, pollution. When it comes to pollution, a thing called selenium is a major concern with the coal mines. Selenium is a trace element or nutrient that's in a lot of our foods, and our bodies needs selenium. However, too much of it is detrimental, and it is more detrimental to wildlife and fish that seem to be more sensitive to too much selenium. The mines dig up the coal, and the selenium in the coal seeps into the groundwater for long distances. In fairness, a lot of selenium is spread in irrigation for farmlands and orchards. However, too much excess selenium causes deformities and reproductive failure in fish and wildlife, and contributes to a host of breathing, heart, and kidney ailments in humans. The key in mining is to stop the selenium at its source in the coal mines, rather than try to control it downstream everywhere in fish we eat and in our drinking water. All right, that looks like pretty well the tour. I hope you learned a little bit and gave you some food for thought. It is one of Canada's primary raw material source suppliers. This is I Go Travel with Don Barnett. Hit the subscribe button, and that'll tell you when we're taking in some more places and putting them on the internet. So long for now. If you want to see more of my videos, just Google, start with the little @ symbol, Don Barnett 5090. That's my YouTube address. Click on my name, click on playlists, and scroll down. There are several videos in each playlist.